The Sphinx was not built by Khafra in 2500 BC. It was carved by a civilization so ancient that Egypt itself was only the echo of its memory. The Sphinx does not belong to Egypt. It belongs to the age before Egypt, before the first dynasty, before the first hieroglyph, before the first grain of sand was stacked into a pyramid. This is not a theory. This is geology. The body of the Great Sphinx bears the unmistakable signature of precipitation-induced weathering, deep vertical channels cut not by wind, not by time, but by rain, persistent torrential rain, rain that last fell on the Giza Plateau in the era known as the African Humid Period, between 10,000 and 5,000 BC. The orthodox dating of 2500 BC is not archaeology. It is assumption. It is institutional inertia. It is the story that was easier to tell. The true story begins 12,000 years ago, in an age that mainstream academia refuses to name, and the stone itself carries the confession. In 1991, a geologist named Robert Schoch stood before the Sphinx enclosure and read what the stone had written. Schoch, a tenured professor at Boston University, a man of orthodox credentials, examined the weathering profiles on the Sphinx body and its surrounding pit. His conclusion was precise and devastating. The erosion patterns matched water weathering, not aeolian, wind-driven erosion. He presented this finding at the Geological Society of America annual meeting. The geologists in attendance largely agreed with his methodology. It was the Egyptologists who erupted. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass called the claim pseudoscience, but Hawass offered no geological counter-evidence, only institutional authority. Schoch's published work detailed in his paper in the journal KMT and expanded in his book Voices of the Rocks stands unrefuted on geological grounds to this day. The argument against him was never scientific. It was territorial. The African Humid Period is not disputed. It is established climatology, documented by the Max Planck Institute, confirmed by lake sediment cores from across North Africa, and cross-referenced with green Sahara vegetation data. Between approximately 11,000 and 5,000 BC, the Sahara received monsoon-level rainfall. The Giza Plateau was wet, persistently, aggressively wet. For the Sphinx to carry deep precipitation-induced weathering profiles, it had to exist as a carved monument during that wet period, not after it, during it. This places the construction of the Sphinx at minimum 8,000 BC. Other analyses by Schoch and independently by Ukrainian researcher Vyacheslav Manichev and geologist Manichev-Parkhomenko push the date further, toward 10,000 BC or earlier. The Manichev-Parkhomenko study, published in the journal Geoarchaeology and Ancient History, proposed that the erosion was caused not even by rain, but by an ancient sea level event. The Sphinx is older than the flood. Now, the first revelation. The Sphinx does not stand alone in the ancient record. The emerald tablets of Thoth, preserved in Hermetic tradition and translated by Dr. Michael Dorial in the 1920s from source texts claimed to originate in pre-dynastic Egypt, speak directly of a monument built before the flood. Tablet 1 states, I, Thoth, the Atlantean, built the great halls of Amenti, chambers below the pyramid, for the storing of wisdom gathered through the ages. The pyramid here is not metaphor. The text specifies physical chambers beneath Giza, a hall of records. Edgar Cayce, the American seer whose readings are catalogued by the Association for Research and Enlightenment, independently described in 1932 a buried hall of records between the Sphinx's paw and the Nile. He identified it as a repository of Atlantean knowledge. Two independent traditions. one location, one buried secret beneath the oldest structure on Earth. The second revelation. In 1993, a robotic exploration of the Sphinx, conducted by a team led by engineer Thomas Dobecki, detected anomalies beneath the monument's front paws. Seismic refraction testing revealed a rectangular cavity beneath the chest area of the Sphinx, an unnatural void in the bedrock, measuring approximately 9 meters by 12 meters. Unnatural because natural limestone dissolution does not create rectangular voids. Rectangles are architecture. Dobecki's findings were published. Then, the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, under Hawass, suspended the team's research permit. The cavity has never been excavated, never been publicly explained. The Book of Enoch, translated from the Ethiopic manuscripts by R.H. Charles in 1906, describes in chapter 69 the keepers of pre-flood knowledge who concealed great secrets beneath the earth before the waters came. The Sphinx sits directly above a sealed rectangular room. That room has been deliberately left unopened. The third and final revelation. The Sphinx does not face the rising sun arbitrarily. Its gaze is locked on a precise celestial coordinate. Researcher and author Graham Hancock, drawing on astronomical calculations by Robert Bauval, first published in Bauval and Gilbert's 1994 book The Orion Mystery, demonstrated that the Sphinx faces due east, aligned to the spring equinox horizon. But more specifically, in 10,500 BC, the constellation Leo rose on that exact horizon at dawn on the spring equinox. The Sphinx is a lion. It faces Leo. It was built to mark that astronomical moment, a moment that occurred exactly 12,500 years ago. Bauval's star correlation theory additionally shows that the 3 pyramids of Giza mirror the belt of Orion as it appeared in 10,500 BC, with a precision that eliminates coincidence. The Nag Hammadi Library, specifically the text On the Origin of the World, records that certain divine architects encoded celestial knowledge into earthly structures as a message for future ages. The Sphinx is that message. Why does the suppression persist? Because accepting the true age of the Sphinx requires accepting the existence of a civilization advanced enough to conceive, organize, and execute the carving of a monument 240 feet long and 66 feet high, at a date when official history says only scattered hunter-gatherers walked the earth. The discovery at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, excavated by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, beginning in 1994, and published across multiple issues of the journal Antiquity, shattered the hunter-gatherer assumption. Complex ritual architecture, precisely carved stone pillars, organized labor, all dated to 11,500 years ago, before pottery, before writing, before agriculture in the orthodox sequence. Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried. Someone covered it intentionally. Whoever built the Sphinx, whoever built Göbekli Tepe, they knew more than we were told. The Hermetic Corpus, compiled by Marsilio Ficino in 1463 from texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, states plainly, "There was a time before this time when wisdom built its house in stone for those who came after the waters." The Sphinx has watched 36 civilizations rise and collapse. It watched the Old Kingdom build beside it and claim ownership of a monument already ancient when their first pharaoh drew breath. It watched Thutmose IV, who erected the dream stele between its paws in 1400 BC, and even the stele records the Sphinx speaking, calling itself a being of divine origin, older than the gods the Egyptians knew. The stele's text, analyzed by Egyptologist and linguist James Henry Breasted in his 1906 work, Ancient Records of Egypt, contains a lacuna, a deliberate gap. Where the oldest portion of the Sphinx's self-description once existed, it was removed, erased. The answer was written in stone, and then deliberately unmade. The Hall of Records beneath the Sphinx pores remains sealed. The rectangular chamber detected by Dobecki's seismic survey remains unexcavated. An entire lost chapter of human history sits 9 meters below a monument that was already 12,000 years old when the pyramids were new. The keepers know what is down there, what is sealed in that rectangular chamber 9 meters beneath the Sphinx's chest, and who decided, in our lifetime, that you are not allowed to know. Thoth speaks. The transmission continues.